Back then, you didn't have private equity companies that were in the Gulf of America. You didn't have banks that had that sufficient line of credit to do that. So the best way to do it was to go public and be able to rely on selling equity as a different form of currency.
Houston-based W&T Offshore has been in the business of drilling for oil and gas since 1983. They went public on the New York Stock Exchange in 2005, and now they're here to celebrate their 20th anniversary. I'm joined now by their CEO, Tracy Crone. Tracy, welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, thanks, Ashley. It's a delight to be here.
You started W&T Offshore 43 years ago. What services do you offer, and what inspired you to start this company?
I'm a petroleum engineer by background. I had the good fortune to start my career in the Gulf of America as an operations type of engineer. We did drilling and completions in the Gulf. So my background was heavily oriented in operations. And there weren't a lot of independents in the Gulf of America at that time. I went to work for my mentor, a guy named Pat Taylor, many years ago, who helped me go through college. We started buying properties because I had that background in the Gulf, and it was a very successful program. We were buying properties, assets, leases from majors, acquiring these producing assets, which was a lot lower risk profile than just drilling. And by the time I left there, the company was worth probably $1 billion or more. And then I started my own company. Not a pretty modest beginning, only $12,000. Was the total amount of capital I had in my bank account. And then we started buying properties and bought our first properties in September of 1985 at $28 oil. Promptly by the end of the year, the price had dropped from $28 to $9 a barrel. Those properties that we bought, we worked on them and made the production greater. By June of the next year of '86, we'd sold a part interest in those properties that we bought for $500,000. We paid off all the debt. I had another $500,000 in our pocket, so we'd sold them for $1 million. And we just kept rolling like that. We kept making more acquisitions, and we'd buy some properties, and we'd sell some, and we'd buy some more. And we started drilling along the way. As we continued with our drilling program, we increased the value of the company over time, and that's how it kind of snowballed.
And why did you decide to go public on the New York Stock Exchange in 2005? And where did you use that additional capital? Very
specific reasons. So that's a great question. The company was pretty successful without being a publicly listed company, but the industry was starting to, had already moved into the deep water. And we recognized several years before that was a much more expensive province for us. So in order to finance the things that we needed to do, we needed to have a different form of currency. Back then, you didn't have private equity companies that were in the Gulf of America. You didn't have banks that had that sufficient line of credit to do that. So the best way to do it was to go public and be able to rely on selling equity as a different form of currency.
And can you talk about the Trump administration's most recent regulations around drilling and how that's impacted your business?
Well, this president and this administration present a very different viewpoint on our industry and on fossil fuels. They recognize that, in fact, we really do need oil and gas, and that particularly as a bridging fuel, gas is an excellent proposition for not only for the taxpayer, but also for industry. As a result, this administration has said, what can we do to help you promulgate additional drilling and production as opposed to retard it? So under the Obama and Biden administrations, the idea was really more to get rid of fossil fuels.
As you mentioned, acquisitions have always been a big part of your business. Do you see that continuing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now that this administration is in the White House, we see more likelihood that will occur. Some of the provisions or the regulatory provisions, such as financial assurance, are being modified to help accommodate that. In the previous administrations, we've had difficulty with financial assurance. Financial assurance is a mechanism by which you have to provide basically an insurance policy to ensure the decommissioning of wells, platforms, and pipelines.
You decided to celebrate your 20th anniversary of going public on the New York Stock Exchange by ringing the closing bell. What was that experience like for you, Tracy?
What a joy! What a good time for this company and me to celebrate being on the exchange for 20 years. That's really hard to do, particularly in our industry, because we have a lot of mergers and some companies go bankrupt. Some companies just simply cease to exist. And we see, unless you're a really large company, that kind of longevity is difficult to achieve these days.
All right, Tracy Crone, CEO of W&T Offshore. Thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Again, delight to be here. It's very nice to meet you, Ashley.